Hi, my name is Jen Berkman, and I'm the marketing manager with Medical Specialists of the Palm Beaches. We're here today with our medical director and internal medicine physician, Dr. Eric Weiner.
Hello, everybody.
Today?
Fine, thank you very much.
Good. I see you're enjoying your soda.
I live on it.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll help you with the questions that we have.
There you are. Go right ahead.
So, if you could be anyone for a day, who would it be and why?
Oh, there are a million choices, but I'll give you one I bet you never thought of. If I had one person I could be for a day, it would be Fred Astaire.
Oh, wow. I never would have thought that.
Okay. Yeah, well, probably knowing me, you never would have thought that. So I've just dated myself to a certain degree, but if you look at his movies, as old as they are, take a look at his talent, at his ability to sing, his ability to dance, and while you're watching his movies, just think of yourself as a member of the audience and think of all the pleasure that man has given so many people.
That is true.
That was a real gift.
He has amazing footwork. I could never do it
Just
either.
Absolutely incredible. I love watching it. They're oldies but goodies. I can't say anything about the scripting. Nowadays we're much more sophisticated, but think of being able to spend a day doing what you love and at the same time spreading joy.
Yes, that's so true. It is joyful to watch.
Okay, so
it's very beautiful.
Fred Astaire, I'm sold.
Awesome. So next question is,
okay,
why did you decide to become a physician?
I hate that question.
Oh, no.
So, you know what? I've asked myself that question many a time for the last 38 years. So all of you pre-med students watching this, listen carefully. I'm going to answer this as a 22-year-old graduating college and a hell of a lot older person now, 38 to 40 years later, okay? I worked as a waiter in high school and college, and I had to take orders from the most condescending, annoying, unfeeling supervisors. And it didn't take me very long, after many long hours and hard work, to realize that I never wanted to ever have to spend a day in my adult life taking orders from people I didn't like.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I would do anything. I would work as hard as I needed to be able to know that I could remain independent. Then on top of that, the college I went to, the university I went to, Yeshiva University, when I was there, basically, you were either pre-med, pre-dent, pre-law, business, or you didn't count.
That's incredible. Wow.
You didn't count. And my feeling was, not that I'm terribly competitive, but my feeling was that I wanted to position myself at the tip of the pyramid. And if I was going to work hard and compete, I wanted to compete with what was perceived to be the most competitive position, in the hope that if I was successful, I would be able to enter a profession where enough doors would open that I could find a satisfying niche for myself. I can't believe that anybody at the age of 22 really knows that they want to be a doctor, really knows what it's like to have to live the life of a physician in any of the fields that we're in. So you go into it hoping that if you aspire to the top, you'll be able to find a place for yourself. That's 22. And now speaking from the position of someone who's at the other end of that spectrum, medicine has challenged every element of me. There is not a day in my life as a clinician where, having to put my own issues behind me, I didn't have to walk into a different examining room 20, 30 or more times a day. And every time I had to be basically a different person, receptive to my patient's needs, and be prepared to focus on that person and to help solve their problems. It's been the most challenging emotionally, intellectually, analytically. It has opened multiple doors, not only professionally, but even in the community. I've been able to be on charitable boards and help run agencies and meet people in different fields and grow as a human being. So I will tell you and you that maturing in the field of medicine, if you take it to heart, is not only a gift to the patient, it's a gift to yourself.
That's incredible. That's your calling. That's
Okay.
why. It's your calling in
It's
life.
a calling.
Yes.
It is a calling.
Beautiful.
White collar notwithstanding, it's a calling.
So we move on to our third question. What's one thing you wish people knew about primary care?
I think that the media tend to simplify the complexity of the healthcare system. I believe the healthcare system is far more complicated than the legal system, the political system. There is no efficiency, and there is absolutely no common sense in the way medical care is provided. And if you're a layperson, you may think you know what you're doing, but there's a 90% probability that you're wrong. The primary purpose of a PCP, of a primary care physician, is not just to be there on an as-needed basis when issues develop, but the consumer, my patient, should expect that I should be the person who understands the shortest distance between 2 points. That I'm the person who, if my patient has a problem, is in the best position to not only make the diagnosis, but then guide them appropriately so that the system does what they want and not what the system wants. So I cannot tell you how many times I've landed up having patients come to see me after they've decided that because of X problem, they went to this doctor and this doctor and this doctor, and then finally come to me completely annoyed and completely uncommunicated with after spending God knows how much money, because the most important element of care, which is communication, simply wasn't addressed. Everybody gets burned.
True.
Everybody learns that situation at least once. So I wish that people understood that they're not in a position to run a nuclear power plant. They're not in a position to manipulate the healthcare system without guidance. And we primary care physicians are the Boy Scouts in the forest.
Wow, well put.
Or the Girl Scouts.
Yeah, well put, well put. Huh, that's a lot to think about. So, let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
So what distinguishes MSPB from other practices in the area?
You know what? I'm not going to speak to other practices. I think the best way for me to answer that question is by describing who we are and how we think we differ. Okay?
Perfect.
And it's going to continue on from what I was saying about what a primary care physician is all about. There are two ways of practicing medicine. One is to be purely reactive. I have a problem. I'm going to see my doctor. He's going to fix the problem. Sayonara. Okay? And that's fine for the simple things in life. But the reality is, as physicians, we're there not just for the simple stuff, but unfortunately also for the more complex. What we do, what we try to do at medical specialists is to not only look at the patient where they are right now, but if clearly the problem that's being presented to us has future components, that can be a concern. If the issue which often exists is one where I not only need to be in the moment, but I need to be proactive because this is important not just for now, but for the future, I need to be able to look at that patient in a holistic way. And I need to be able to help them understand what those concerns are, to educate them, and to help them make the best decisions for themselves. When I finished my training so many years ago, life was still a bit different for physicians. It was still a time where we were considered to be somewhat godlike. We would just basically tell people what they needed to do, and that's the story. Those days have been over for a long, long time. Our patients need to be empowered. They need to be able to understand the issues and to take responsibility for the decisions they make.
I agree with you on that. Empowering the patient's the most important thing.
So how does MSPB differ? Because yes, we plan and intend as a policy basis to be available for our patients as necessary, 24/7, urgently same day if necessary, if not when necessary. Yes, we aim to provide service because we see this as a service profession. But perhaps even more importantly, our mission is to educate and to think of issues not only as they are today, but how those will resonate in the future, and to not only deal with the now, but even if it means dealing with not only the patient, but the patient's family, being able to look at where things are going and try to deal with things ahead of time. That makes a huge difference in terms of the quality of care and the impact on health.
This is very true as well.
Okay.
Be able to plan ahead and make sure that the patient is where they need to be.
That is a focus. When our physicians read our manual, our philosophy of care, we're very, very clear that a visit is not just intended to be a quick in and out, that there needs to be a part of our brain, of a doctor's brain, back in the back of the head, that is saying, is this a marker for something more concerning? Or can we just be at peace and move on?
Planning ahead. I always agree on that.
That's correct.
Planning ahead.
That's correct.
So for a person, what would you suggest to them every day that they could do for themselves to keep themselves healthy?
So I'll tell you two things I won't say because I'm tired of hearing it from everybody else who does say it. I'm not going to say get exercise, because for anybody who's listening to this, that's obvious. I'm not going to say do what you need to do to get your weight under control, because if somebody is listening to this, they've also heard that a million times. So that's either being listened to or being ignored. What I'm going to suggest to you is that every morning when you wake up, you take 45 seconds and you think of 5 things that make you grateful.
Oh, I love that idea. Thinking of 5 things.
Just think of 5 things in your life.
And there's plenty of things we could think of.
Well, you would be surprised how many of us move from day to day without realizing what we can be grateful for.
This is true.
And to be able to spend 45 seconds of thoughtful gratitude when you start your day can make a huge difference in the quality of your life.
I'm sure a lot of patients are grateful for you. And that leads into our next question.
Oh my, okay.
If you can, give us a story of one of your patients, one of your favorite stories about your patients. I'm sure you have at least one.
Oh my God. Okay, so I want you to imagine this. A 92-year-old woman, I'd had taken care of her for at least 20 years. For all the time I'd known her, she was elegant, perfectly coiffed. Every time she came into the office, she was beautifully dressed, colorful, high heels. 92.
Wow.
Sharp as a tack.
Oi.
Yeah. Sharp as a tack. Brilliant sense of humor. She calls up and she leaves me a voicemail. Dr. Weiner, her voice was shaking. I must see you. I am so upset. Okay, come in. She walks into the office that afternoon. As usual, elegant and perfect, just holding herself together. Put her in the room, sit down. What's going on? And she nearly breaks into tears. And she tells me that she is incredibly upset because her 94-year-old boyfriend just told her that he still wanted to play the field.
Oh, wow. Incredible. No, that's crazy.
So,
what was your advice?
First, my jaw dropped. And I looked at her. I mean, what do you say? I looked at her and she looked back at me. And it was as if by speaking to me that she realized that this amazing 92-year-old woman was behaving like a 16-year-old.
Whew, sounds like it.
And we looked at each other and just started laughing.
What else can you do?
What else can you do? Okay, 92 years old, I'm thinking, oh my God, we should all be so lucky. Which takes me to a second story similar to that.
Okay.
85-year-old guy from the Midwest. I've been taking care of him for at least 15 years. He had a hobby. He'd never actually shown it, but I knew that he loved to work with his hands. So he comes in one day after he says, I'm going to give you a gift, and it's from the hobby that I have. And he walks in with two different constructs. One was a racing car, and the other was this magnificent sailboat with beautiful masts and sails. And both of them were elegantly constructed out of Budweiser cans.
Now that's very creative.
Okay.
Not an artist.
Okay. In his mid to late 80s, and he presented this to me. And I looked at him, and firstly, I loved it. But secondly, I said, you know what? This one is going in exam room 1, and this one is going into exam room 2. Because whenever patients would walk in to a medical office and see a sculpture made out of Budweiser cans, and they would look at me saying, what the heck is this doing in a medical office? I could say, the guy who made that was like 85 years old when he did that. You should be so lucky.
That is an artist's heart, you know,
Okay.
to create something out of nothing.
You should be so lucky.
Or create something else into something else.
So,
and that's what it sounds like.
So he gave those to me. It must have been at least 15 years ago. He's of course
Wow.
passed away, but I still have it in the office, actually. It was in the room until corporate decided that the optics weren't quite what they wanted to be, so I had to hide it somewhere else. But may we all be lucky enough
Right.
to age that way.
Right. Wow. Well, I do have one more quick curveball question for you. I
Okay.
remember that you're from Montreal, Canada.
That's right.
So
Okay.
my question is, who has the better bagels, Montreal, Canada, or Brooklyn, New York?
Brooklyn doesn't even hold a candle. Brooklyn?
That's what I've heard. Brooklyn's awesome.
Brooklyn. I thought you were going to say
Montreal's
Montreal
awesome.
or Toronto.
Oh.
Okay, come on. Americans, they don't garnish the bagels.
So Montreal wins hands down then.
Montreal wins hands down.
Oh, wow. So thank you so much for this beautiful
My
and
pleasure.
insightful conversation,
My
Dr.
pleasure.
Weiner.
Thanks, Jen.
So thank you so much for viewing with us today. And please follow us and like us on YouTube, Instagram, and our Facebook page, MSPBHealth.com. See you soon.